goodness. All right. I'm going to go through the things. So before we get started, let's introduce everyone in this meeting. I'm Alicia Bergeron. When I call your name, please confirm you are present and can hear me. Starting with the commission, Helen Cheney.
I am here and I can hear you.
Sandra Brock.
Yes, I can hear you and I am here.
Patrick, whose last name I can never pronounce.
Kegel, and I'm here.
And John Nickerson.
Here and I can hear you.
Okay, and the staff, Leah Cameron.
I'm here.
And Samantha Lyon.
Present.
The anticipated speakers on the agenda are Samantha Walker of BSC Group. Samantha, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, perfect.
Hello.
And Teresa, I'm not even going to try your last name.
That's okay. It's Portante.
Okay. And you're also here.
Yes.
So this open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via Zoom, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, the governor's office suspended the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and encourages public bodies to hold meetings remotely with reasonable public access. Access information for the public meeting is provided on the town website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. As chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite each commissioner by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. After the commissioners have spoken, I will allow public comment, starting with those received in advance of the meeting, followed by any real-time comments or questions typed by participants in the chat feature on Zoom. Anything typed in that chat feature needs to be addressed to everyone, not to any sole individual. Both types of comments and questions will be followed by real-time commission and applicant responses. Finally, each vote taken will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, scrolling down. Public hearing doesn't start till 7:15. So we can start with action items. Leah, do you think that the certificate of compliance we can do in 10 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. It should be quick.
Okay, perfect.
Let's start
So
with that.
let's start with that.
Okay. So we had a request for certificate of compliance for the geotechnical boring portion of the larger project that's been going on. For, I believe they filed as National Grid. Pardon me if I'm wrong, because they go by many different entities. But long story short, the work is done. They had to do 2 mitigation planting areas. One of them, they monitored both for the required amount of time. Just a couple things I wanted to bring to your attention. One area, which was area B, had groundwater within 2 feet of the surface, not 1 foot like it's required to be. That was likely due to the drought, because the first couple times they checked this, it was fine, and then it dropped down lower when we've had the drought this past going on almost a year. They also had some issues with deer eating the vegetation in their planting areas, but by their counts, they still meet the 75% requirement that we set. So it's my recommendation that the COC be issued. There's one outstanding item, which is them removing the erosion control. I had a conversation that it's going to be removed tomorrow. So if the commission would like, you can vote to issue the COC pending confirmation it has been removed. And then as soon as I get that confirmation, I can issue it.
Okay, I apologize in advance. My dogs are freaking out right now. So if there's barking, I'm sorry. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Leah. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on that one? No. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion? Is everyone muted? Yes.
I'm trying to pull something up, otherwise I
For
would.
sure.
Yeah, I could do that. I'll make a motion to issue certificate of compliance for the double circuit tower separation.
Okay. Does anyone second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So now we'll go through and do a vote via roll call. So Sandy,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I'm Alicia. I also vote yes. So the certificate of compliance can be issued. Perfect. The next action item, since it's only 7:09, is the December 15th meeting minutes. Has everyone had time to take a look at them?
I make a motion to accept the December 15th, 2020 meeting minutes.
Thank you, John.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, so now we'll do a roll call. Sandy,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
and I'm Alicia. I also vote yes, so the meeting minutes pass.
I just have one thing I wanted to clarify. I mixed up my utility projects. It was the separation where they separated the two lines onto their own poles. I misspoke earlier saying it was the geotechnical work. Apologies for that. Everything else I said still true.
Perfect. Okay, so we still have 5 more minutes before we can do the first hearing.
If you guys if you feel like you have time to look at the draft I put together of our submission for the annual town report, we might be able to take care of that.
Okay. In report.
So this would be what goes into the booklet that the town publishes.
So has this changed since, have you made any kind of updates, or this is pretty much similar, and I'm guessing the figures in the end is similar to past years?
Yeah, we follow the same, pretty much the same template each year. Update the numbers for amount of permits that came through. We saw a small increase in the amount of new projects that came through and a small decrease in the number that were closed out with COCs.
Okay.
Other than that, we have 93 North Street being donated to the town is in there.
Okay,
Although
yep.
I'm noticing I did not include the address, so I need to add the address in there specifically.
Mm-hmm.
MS4, and then the streetlight LED retrofit project under Green Communities. And then the section at the bottom is a requirement that we call out anything we spent over $1,000 on. So I know that looks a little funny, but we have to put it in there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fine.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on it, Leah, or?
Doesn't hurt.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion if you're okay with this?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the report for the Conservation Commission with the note that Leah made about adding the address to the donated land. Yeah, that's it.
A second.
Okay. Sandy made a motion, Patrick seconded. So now we'll go through and vote. Sandy,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I'm Alicia. I also vote yes, so it's good to go. Thank you, Leah.
You're welcome.
We still have 2 minutes.
I have one other thing. It's not on the list for you guys, but it came in more recently, which is 44 Estabrook Road. We issued an order of conditions for a solar array, and one of the conditions was that they would give us the final design for their crossing prior to commencement of work for the commission to review and approve. So I do have that now, if you guys want to take a quick look. And just let me know if you want me to zoom in, scroll down, if the boxes where you can see you guys are in the way. Just let me know if you need me to move anything.
So Leah, I just have a quick question. Was this reviewed by a peer reviewer?
No, I can certainly do that though.
And if you could zoom out, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Okay, there we go. Oh, this is just a cut sheet. So when I'm sorry, when I say it's a cut sheet, does everyone understand that this is just a vendor's information about a standard 10 by 4 foot culvert? Is this the only thing they submitted?
Yes. I mean, there was a cover sheet on it saying what was attached, but that's about it.
Looks like a culvert.
This isn't a design, it's a cut sheet.
Right.
Yeah, it would be my recommendation. I don't think we have to send it out for peer review because he can't look at anything with this, is for them to include a sketch or something of the location of this and the grading around this, because again, this is an open bottom culvert, which is absolutely fine, but there's no context to it. And it's basically just a vendor cut sheet.
Okay. Okay, so ask for those things and do not do peer review at this time.
Yeah, I don't know how complicated it is because it may be really simple, and then
Okay.
supplying this information would be sufficient if we take a look at it. I can't, yeah, I have no context of this and how it actually shows up on the plans.
Okay.
So,
I can look for the plans that we approved in the background while you guys move on, and maybe we can revisit it later.
oh, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, it's 7:16, so we can start the first public hearing. So this is going to be the RDA for 1415 Meadowbrook Road. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Grafton Wetland Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, January 5th via Zoom to act upon a request for determination of applicability for the installation of a distribution pole along 14 Meadowbrook Road to service the lots at 15 Meadowbrook Road in Grafton. And Samantha Walker is here as the representative.
Hello. All right, so my name is Samantha. I'm with BSC Group. I'm presenting this RDA application on behalf of the Massachusetts Electric Company. This proposed project is along an existing distribution line on Meadowbrook Road, where the proposed installation of one distribution pole is required to provide electrical service to the properties at 1516 Meadowbrook Road. The installation of pole P6-50 is subject to review under the local Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw and regulations and the Wetlands Protection Act. While the proposed pole is located within 10 feet of the adjacent BVW within riverfront area, 100-foot buffer to BVW and bordering land subject to flooding, and is within the local 20-foot no disturb zone. The pole is less than 5 feet from the road edge. and it is within the existing distribution line and will be located within the already disturbed section along the roadside. So the proposed pole will be installed by augering a hole of a depth of about 6 feet, where the pole will be directly embedded into the ground. Excavated soils will be used to backfill the hole. Any excess spoils will be removed and disposed of properly, and the entire process will disturb fewer than 4 square feet, and the area will be restored to pre-existing conditions. BMPs will be used to avoid impacts to the adjacent BBW in accordance with Massachusetts Electric Company's established procedures outlined in National Grid's EG 303 environmental guidance documents. So we are seeking a negative determination under the Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaw, and a waiver from the Town of Grafton's 25-foot no disturb zone, and to allow this project to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments? I'll go through everyone. Sandy?
I have no questions at this point.
Okay. John?
No questions.
Patrick?
No questions.
Helen?
No questions.
Okay. Does anyone from the community that's on have any questions? You can type them into the chat feature. And we'll just give them a minute to make any questions and see if anyone's typing. Doesn't look like anyone is typing. Okay.
So should we do a motion for the waiver first?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we grant a waiver for work within the 25-foot no disturb zone for the RDA at 14 Meadowbrook Road.
I second that.
Okay. Sandy has made a motion. Helen seconded. So now we'll go through. Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I'm Alicia. I also vote yes, so that is passed.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and issue. Sorry, I'm reading as I'm doing this, and issue a negative determination with typical special conditions for sediment control.
I second
Okay.
that.
Perfect. So Sandy motioned, Helen seconded. Sandy?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I'm Alicia. I also vote yes. So that passes. And you, I think, are all set.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great
evening.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, you need to slow down a little bit. We're getting ahead of the time.
Okay. Can we start the, we don't have to slow down. Can we start the discussion on the signatures?
Yeah.
8 minutes.
What's that?
We have 8 minutes, so
We can do it.
Okay.
Okay, so the registry is, if you guys remember from last time, the registry is requiring either ink signatures or electronic through a third-party verification software. So last time we were talking about Adobe Sign and all the aspects of that. At that time, we had a free trial of Adobe Sign, which I believe was for 14 days. So that trial is now over. We were looking into how to set up the account going forward. Adobe Sign, as well as other programs like DocuSign, etc., require you to prepay for a year. Then you need a credit card to set it up. Currently, the town's credit card is frozen, for lack of a better word, because departments have put charges on it, not claimed them, and paid them. So the credit card is not available for use at this time. And the companies like Adobe Sign, DocuSign, etc., will not send an invoice unless you're paying, spending at least $1,000. We're nowhere close for the license that we need. So we're going to keep an eye on the credit card becoming available again. And as soon as it is, hopefully hop back on something like Adobe Sign, because when it's functioning, it's certainly the easiest and quickest for all of us. In the interim, however, my proposal is that we get you guys the forms you need to sign. That can be in one of two ways. We can email you a packet. You can print it out at home, sign it, just ink signature, get it back to the town hall, or we can snail mail you the printouts. It's just that cuts into the fact that we have 21 days to issue items. So I was suggesting we email you the packet. If you have the capability to print it out, sign what you need to sign, get it back to the town hall. We're happy to get you guys supplies if you need them. If it, if it takes a long time for the credit card to become available again and you want to be reimbursed for ink, or, if this becomes a long-term thing, that's certainly something we can evaluate as well. This was just my temporary solution I'm suggesting we use, because the 21-day requirement still holds for us. It's no longer waived, so to speak, under the state of emergency. It's back in place. So if anyone has any thoughts or alternative ideas you want to offer, this is the best I've come up with that meets all the various parties we're dealing with requirements.
So I'm all set if you want to email it to me and I can print out the signature page, sign it. And if there's a place to drop it off outside of the town offices, other than the pink or purple bin that building department uses. But if there's some place
we
where
all
we could,
use that. We all use that bin. You just need to write attention conservation on the envelope. That's
okay.
where everyone drops everything in the big pink bin. As long as you write attention conservation, it gets to us very quickly. If you don't write that, it will still get to us. It just takes a little longer. I checked with DEP. We can, stack multiple signature pages. So we're going to have one from each of you guys in each permit. That's fine. We checked, that's acceptable. It's acceptable to the registry. What was the other thing I was going to say? I forget at the moment.
So I don't have a printer at home.
Okay.
I could run to the office or something, but how often do you see this happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be what needs to be signed post-meeting for however many meetings it takes till the credit card's available again.
So could you, and again, this is for everyone too, but could you just have an envelope taped to the door, for lack of better place, or taped to the outside of the pink bin? So just have Conservation Commission, then you could stop by the town offices, pull it out, the individual sheets, sign it, and have something on it, a sticker that says conservation, and then each person can then drop it in the bin and do that. I'm fine with getting it by email and printing at home, but those people without a printer, is that an option? Or would that screw it up, or would you think it'd get taken down if you did something?
It might end up knocked down by accident by someone, but there are some days Samantha's in the office if you wanted to coordinate stopping by and meeting her. If you don't have a printer, or if you don't have a printer, we can mail packets to those of you who need it.
I mean, you could mail one packet for John and I. Our kids are in the same daycare, so we see each other. We're in the same bubble, as you would say. So him and I could both sign the same one. We see each other regularly, and our kids are together all day.
Okay, as long as you're comfortable with that, because we were also trying to keep everybody separate. So as
Yeah,
long as that's
John,
something you're fine with.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I see him regularly, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you could also, if you sent an email, I could get it printed, or have, I could go into the office and print it just to avoid the snail mail. It's 20 minutes to the office, so it's not bad. I can print a copy and I can sign it, bring it to Alicia, she can sign it.
Well, if you guys want to do that, I mean, you guys don't live that far from me. I can print them and stick something on my door or something. And you, I mean, I don't mind doing that. I'm just on, East Street. So I mean, that's an option too. It all depends, if it's not kind of cool to do it at the town offices, I'm fine with just, doing something at my house and having it available for you guys. And I'll put it someplace you guys can just come by and pick it up. And I mean, that's up to you if you want to do it that way either.
Yeah. Maybe do the email and then we can discuss and say, hey, I'll print a copy, or we'll go to Sandy's house and look through the window at the cat and then sign and then sign the paper.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
pretty flexible with that. I mean,
Yeah, me
we
too.
can still distance, without, and you guys can still have it and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
we can still be safe. I don't know. How about Patrick and Helen? You pretty good with just getting an email, signing it and returning it?
Fine with that. I can print it out I still go to work every day. But it's basically me, myself, and I at work. So I can print it out and put it in an envelope and drop it in the big pink box at the town offices. That's fine with me. Or I can too, Sandy, if you're running low on paper, I can print out the stuff and I can even, you guys live in town, right? Alicia and John?
Yeah.
I can even swing by and put them on your door if you want. That's cool with me. However you would like to, the easiest or the most efficient way is fine with me.
So in general, it sounds like you guys are okay getting emailed the packet of sheets that are gonna need signatures on them. And then
I
you
might
guys
need
will
to
coordinate.
coordinate with someone.
That's fine. I'm just excited that I'll have an excuse to leave the house during the day and actually drive someplace and go to a pink recycling bin. That excites me. It's a trip out. I'm cool with that.
All right. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, I might be able to print some, but my printer's on sort of its last legs, so could be touch and
Yeah.
go.
Okay. And, if coordination is not working out between you guys, not that I'm expecting it not to, but if you have any questions or you need any help, supplies, anything, just reach back out to us because we're here to help too.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm
but-
pretty all set. I'm pretty set up. I'm set up
Okay.
well in my office and yeah, I shouldn't have a problem printing, but
Okay.
now I
so
said
we-
that I will. I shouldn't have said it.
Thanks to yourself. Yeah.
I know I did.
All right, if we can proceed with this for the time being till the card is available again, that would be super. We'll try to include in the email the 21-day date, just so that everyone knows the clock we're having to meet. We will still be working on the body of the documents, on the staff level. These will just be the signature pages we need from you guys, but obviously we need the whole thing to have a complete document to issue to folks.
Yeah, and my house is easy to find. It's the one with the dumpster and porta potty out in the front yard. You can't miss it.
In the bright red car.
That too.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Now moving on. It is 7:32, so we're gonna do the E157W transmission line right of way for New England Power. Let me go here. Okay, so pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetland Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for a wetlands protection bylaw permit for structure improvements in relation to a beaver impoundment along the E157 West W transmission line right of way at 15 Windle Ave near 36 Rear Nelson Street in 105 Westboro Road, Grafton. And Teresa is here for BSC Group for this one.
I am, and also here with me is Andrew Cole, who is the project manager at National Grid for this project.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. If you could, yeah, perfect. Didn't even have to say anything. So I had discussed the project with you guys before the holiday break back in November to discuss the maintenance component of this work and the purpose and intent. So if you could scroll to the second page or fourth page, yeah, here we go. So the purpose of this project is to improve the accessibility and reliability of this transmission line, because as you can see, currently it crosses a very large beaver impoundment that is associated with Big Bummit Brook. There are currently 3 H-frame structures that sit within this impoundment within standing water. And so what they want to do, the whole purpose of the project is to be able to improve the ability to access and maintain this line by getting these structures, removing them entirely out of the water. And to do that, they need to replace the 2 structures that are currently located on either side of the pond. So if you want to go back up to page 1. So what they're proposing to do is replace, as you can see, if you look out towards where the pond bank is located, they're going to be replacing structure 72. That's the structure that's closest to the bank that will then support the conductor going over the impoundment. And to do that, they will be replacing it with a taller structure, larger support, which it'll be a steel H-frame structure supported by concrete caisson foundations. To access that structure, same way that they came in to do the soil borings that were conducted near that structure to provide information for the design, they'll come in off Wendell Ave. Which is shown on the left corner of the plan set. We did identify when they were clearing trees to establish that access road to get in there. After the clearing was done, thinking ahead to needing to bring in some pretty large steel components of the structure itself, there may be some additional trees that need to be removed just to get the angle of that piece of steel down into the right of way. So that is what is anticipated here with the red location showing for potential additional tree removals. Some of these were nicked when they were bringing in the construction matting for the soil boring. So we know already that the width is constrained to get equipment in there. And so that is why those have been marked there. It's conservative. They'll only remove additional trees as needed to facilitate access of the equipment into that location. So from that entrance, again, just like they did with the soil borings, they're intending on matting that slope. So there won't be any grading, filling, any additional material. It'll just be a temporary matted road. They'll come in, cross that same wetland crossing again. What we've identified here is a material storage area that's outlined in the blue dashed area. That will be located just beyond structure 71, in between structure 72 and 71. And that area there is pretty level, but they may end up using temporary matting as needed just to create a stable area to stage materials. And that entire area will be encased with sediment and erosion controls to ensure that everything is contained. Structure 72 is located within bordering lands subject to flooding, as well as buffer zone. And the caissons themselves will be located at approximately, ground elevation there is about 360, and the base flood elevation is 363. So there will be approximately 301 cubic yards of fill within a floodplain. And so what we did was take a look at the area, and there are actually some old foundations that were left on the edge of the right of way. If you take a look at where that the storage area is, going to material storage area is, there are some highlighted areas shown in red where there are some old foundations, and we did include some photographs of these within the submittal. And so the proposal for the mitigation for the loss of minimal flood storage is to remove those foundations from the right of way, which will approximately, this wasn't surveyed, but approximately should provide more compensatory flood storage than is required. If you want to move, so that area there, you can see, just for context, the shaded area, those blocks, that is their entire work area near structure 72. So there will be some temporary wetland matting associated with the construction of the work pad for structure 72. And then we identified an area that is pretty level and away from the bank, where we would designate dewatering to occur. And again, this area would have sediment and erosion controls lining that work area to ensure that dewatering practices are filtered towards the upland area, and that nothing is going to be draining directly towards the pond. So if you want to move on to 4, 5.
Oh,
6.
did you need me to go back? Sorry. I
No,
went
that's
too
okay.
quick.
6.
Okay.
So on the to get to the other side of the pond, so the other structure that is going to be replaced, again, steel H-frame structures supported by concrete caisson foundations, is structure 76. And to get to that side of the right-of-way, same deal, they'll come in off Parmenter Road. There will need to be some minor maintenance of that road that enters into there. There's some pretty good ponded areas along that road. And so to create a stable surface, they'll either use temporary matting, or they'll put down, a temporary stone that's underlain by geotextile fabric, so it can be removed. There is another material storage area shown on the plan for this side of the right-of-way, that's shown with the blue hatching on the plan. So a portion of it will be within the buffer zone. They are also planning to do some minor grading to reestablish the access road that is located in that location. It's become it's a little bit incised in its existing condition. So in order to get a stable road base in there for concrete trucks that are going to need access in there, they will be doing some minor grading, and that's called out on the plan in here. And then you can see their work pad area. They'll work from the side of the structure that's away from the bank. They don't need to access close to the bank in order to conduct the structure replacement on this side. Again, sediment and erosion controls will be installed to provide the limit of work for the activities located in this area. So with that, we'll take any questions.
Does anyone on the commission will go through? Helen, do you have any questions or comments?
No, just absorbing it all.
Patrick?
No questions at this time.
Sandy?
The one question I have is just that scale of those drawings are really deceiving. And so I'm just curious, when you show that block of the work area and where the alteration is, what's the square footage of that? I mean, I'm not looking for exact numbers. It's not 10 by 10, it's probably 500 by 500 or a half an acre. So I'm just looking for an order of magnitude of what those areas that you just showed boxed, how big that is. I couldn't tell from that scale.
Yeah, they're about 80 by 100. So the 1 by 72 is a little funky because it's kind of combining two areas, but generally the work area is 80 by 100.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are you good? Any more questions, Sandy?
No, that was fine. I was just trying to get the order of magnitude of what the impacts were. So thank you.
Okay. John, did you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, I didn't have any questions. Does anyone in the public have any questions? You can type them into the chat feature. I'll give a minute for that. I don't see anyone typing. So I'm guessing there's no questions or comments. That all being said, does anyone want to make a motion?
And we do need a separate one for the waiver again.
So I'll make a motion to issue a waiver from our wetlands bylaw to allow work within the no disturb zone.
I second that.
Okay, Sandy motions, John seconds. We'll do a roll call. Sandy,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
I'm Alicia. I also vote yes, so that passes. And then we just need another motion to close the hearing and issue the order of conditions.
So I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing, issue an order of condition with the special conditions for the best management practices as indicated in the submission, and to be utilized in water to be diverted around the beaver dams versus breaching them.
I second that.
Okay, Sandy motions, John seconds. Now we'll go and vote. Sandy,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
I'm Alicia. I also vote yes, so that passes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Yes, you
thank you
too.
very much.
Take care.
I had one suggestion just that might help you guys is a program called DocuSign for your discussion on signatures of applications, et cetera. It's an application on your phone that does allow you to do an electronic signature, helps for those that don't have a printer. So just something you could look into, could solve a lot of the traveling around.
Oh, we have a whole history with DocuSign and,
All right.
having not the issue with the software itself, with procuring it. So
Oh, all right.
yeah, so yeah, I appreciate
That's
the
just how
suggestion. Yeah.
That's how I navigate the printer issues that, we all
Yeah.
experience. So, all
Yeah,
right.
no, yeah, I appreciate the suggestion. It's a sad and sorry story, but we're all set for now. At some point, we'll have whatever it is, Adobe Sign, a DocuSign or something. It's just a process we have to go through.
Understood. All right. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So that was timed perfectly to move to the next public hearing, which is the stormwater management bylaw and regulation revisions.
Could I actually stop you for a second?
Nope, you can't. I'm sorry.
Brains rolling.
I found the plans for Estabrook, just if we circle back to that so I don't forget at the end.
Okay.
That was the one that needed the design for their crossing.
Oh, that sounds good.
So let me get on the right sheet here. These are the plans we approved. This is their grading and drainage plan with a close-up detail on the crossing location,
Okay.
if that helps to answer any
Okay.
questions. Otherwise, let me know what to seek from them.
Okay, no, that's it gives you more information because it actually tells you the length and the width and everything, so that you can kind of, match up what they sent. In the grading shown, it's not great, but it's not bad. I don't have a real problem with what they sent because they just sent the box culvert component. Because if you open up the other vendor, the actual, this one here. Oh, it even has the wing walls. Okay. Let me see. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge problem with it. It's hard to look at something without context. So I appreciate that. I'm all set
Okay.
with it.
Did we have to vote on that, or was that just a?
The condition said to review and approve, so again, it wouldn't hurt.
Okay. Would anyone
I'll-
like to go?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, I'm just trying to see, where's the location of this?
It's not listed. It came
Okay.
in last minute, but it's 44 Estabrook, and it's approving the design for the crossing.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the design for the crossing.
Hold on, I'm going to have a barking situation for a second. Hold on. Okay.
I second it.
Okay. Sandy motions, John seconds. Now we'll go through and do a roll call. Sandy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Helen, and I'm Alicia. I also vote yes, so it passes. They are good to go. Okay, now are we good for the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw and Regulation Review?
Go for it.
Perfect. Pursuant to the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to discuss revisions to the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw and regulations. That's it. Good.
Okay, so I've given you guys a little bit of heads up on this project that we're gonna get started on tonight. We need to revise the stormwater bylaw for the requirements of the MS4 permit that we have to meet as a town. So I put together a little presentation here to walk you guys through it. Starting with the low-hanging fruit, as well as a few questions for you guys to consider. And then we'll have to continue this hearing and revisit it probably a few more times because it is a large undertaking. So just to get started, we're under the 2016 EPA MS4 permit. If I can get this slideshow to work with Zoom at the same time. Okay. So the MS4 permit is valid for 5 years. They require different tasks of the municipalities within each year. These bylaw updates are due by the end of the fiscal year we are currently in. So by June 30th, we have to have this done. I found a pretty substantial guidance document from the Neponset Stormwater Partnership where they go through the requirements of the MS4 permit, as well as a lot of recommendations they're giving towns. So I will be sure to call out what's required and what's recommended so that you guys can make decisions on each individual item. Any revisions for our bylaw will have to go to spring town meeting, but any revisions to the regulations can just be accepted by the commission at a public hearing. Let's see. Okay. Now, just to ask you guys a question off to the side, are the Zoom boxes in the way for you guys? Because they're in the way for me, and I don't know if it displays the same way for you.
Yes, they are.
Okay, super. Let's see.
You can drag them.
How's that? Better? Kind of.
Yeah, so I see it no problem at all. All of my Zoom images of folk, the camera is off to the side. That's how I have it set
Okay.
up.
I just
Well,
moved
I will
everyone. I figured it
I
out.
think you guys can play around with it. I think if you also click to exit full screen, it will move things around for you so that everyone's at the top and the display is at the bottom. But let me know if you need me to get anything out of the way on my end. So the first revision is a pretty simple one. This is in our bylaw. Just in starting this project, I noticed that we had some inconsistent language. Section 1 is at the top where we talk about LID, and we currently have it worded as LID should be utilized whenever possible. Then down below in section 2 of the bylaw, we talk about that LID should be used to the maximum extent practicable. So just to make the two match, I suggest crossing out whenever possible in section 1 and changing it to match section 2 to say to the maximum extent practicable to make our language a little stronger for LID. Again, that's just a recommendation for me, something I noticed when going through this.
So Leah, to add to
Yep.
that, the proposed regulation changes for DEP and the stormwater standards, I think actually even gets a little stronger than maximum extent practicable. So we may want to look up what the proposed language is from DEP to make sure we're in line with that. Now, I caution the fact that that has not been approved yet, but they're doing the same thing to align with MS4. So that's just one place that we could look to make
Okay.
sure we're using the same. I have no issues at all with what you're doing here, absolutely. But I think the state regs and the stormwater standards are actually going to be a little bit more forceful and not
Okay.
just to the maximum extent practical, is that you have to use low impact stormwater management practices. And if you can't, then you have to explain why.
Okay.
So,
I will check that out.
yep.
Anyone else have anything on this one, or I can continue? And we don't need any action on each individual one unless that's how you guys want to take it. We can do that part at the end. Okay. So revision number 2, this is also in the bylaw. This is something that is required under the MS4 permit. What this entails is making a stormwater permit necessary not only for the projects we see now, which exceed roughly an acre, but we also now need to add in projects that are under those thresholds, but are part of a larger plan of development. Will also now need a permit, a stormwater permit from us under the bylaw. So this is required language under the MS4 permit. Any questions on this one? Number 3, this is still in the bylaw. One of the things that the guidance document I've been following called out was to make sure that you are requiring projects to come back for a certificate of compliance, and that certificate of compliance needs to be recorded. So when I checked the bylaw to make sure those items were in there, I noticed that we actually didn't even have instructions for them to record the permit. So the box up top is my suggested language requiring that they record the permit we issue to them. Pretty straightforward. I matched it up with what's in our wetlands bylaw, that they record it. They bring us back proof of recording via the pages with the barcode on them from the registry. And then I went to section 9 down below for the COC requirements and added that it shall be recorded to match the permit. Any questions on that one? Number 4 is a change to one of the definitions. We have a lot of our definitions in both the bylaw and the regulations, so I made the change in both places. You can see the bylaw on top, the regulations down below. This is clarifying and expanding what is considered a land disturbing activity or a land disturbance. So it will now read any activity that causes a change in the position or location of soil, sand, rock, gravel, or similar earth material results in an increased amount of runoff or pollutants, measurably, that needs to be a Y, sorry. Measurably changes the ability of a ground surface to absorb waters, involves clearing, grubbing, and grading, or results in an alteration of drainage characteristics. Just make a note to change that to a Y at the end. And this is a recommendation. This one is not required. So if anyone has any feelings to the contrary, feel free to voice those. Or any questions. Number 5 is another change to a definition. This time the definition is redevelopment. Before we had a semi-weak definition, which you can see strike through at the bottom. Again, bylaw on top, regulations on the bottom. We have the definition in both, so we need to change it in both. This does add in some language to call to your attention. So I'll read the whole thing out loud and I'll call out specifically what would be new. So it's development, rehabilitation, expansion, demolition, construction, land alteration, or phased projects that disturb the ground surface, including impervious surfaces on previously developed sites. The creation of new areas of impervious surface or new areas of land disturbance on a site constitutes development, not redevelopment, even where such activities are part of a common plan, which also involves redevelopment. This is the part that would be a new addition for us. Its redevelopment includes maintenance and improvement of existing roadways, including widening less than a single lane, adding shoulders, correcting substandard intersections, improving existing drainage systems, and repaving, and remedial projects specifically designed to provide improved stormwater management, such as projects to separate storm drains and sanitary sewers and stormwater retrofit projects. So with that addition, we would see a lot more filings from the DPW. We currently have a few exemptions for DPW projects. That is something we'll have to also visit. I don't have it in this batch for you guys, but it's sort of a choice that needs to be made between requiring those projects to come get a permit or giving them an exemption. So that's a decision to keep in mind. Again, this is a recommended change. So
Yeah, that's a big change because it's excluded. It's an exception in the DEPs and the Wetlands Protection Act. They're also changing a lot what MassDOT has to do. They're updating the stormwater bylaw. Excuse me, they're updating the stormwater manual and actually adding a section for MassDOT work. So, so that's going to be changing. Of course, our bylaw doesn't impact MassDOT because it's a state agency. But yeah, everyone should think about this and what it says and how much it would impact DPW. I think I'm kind of in the middle about not giving them a wholesale exception, but also being, also not standing in the way for them to redo maintenance on roadways and having to come in front of us. It depends upon, it's a good conversation piece that I think we need to talk more about, I guess.
Okay. It might tie into one of the questions I have at the end. I'll try to remember to tie it in there, but there might be a way to fit it in later. Anyone else have anything on this one? Okay, 6 is very simple, just the wording changed to select board. We sort of had it saying select board before, we just had lowercase, so that's more of a grammar change. Something recommended by me, nothing to do with MS4. Number 7 is in the regulations. This is the section that talks about submitting as-built plans after the work is done. We currently have all applicants are required to submit actual as-built plans for any stormwater management facilities or practices, and I was suggesting changing it to all facilities and practices just to make it more inclusive and clear.
So Leah, one suggestion I make on this, when you say required to submit actual as-built plans, I would change actual to on-the-ground survey as-built plans. It's just a
Okay.
clearer way of defining, you can't do red lines.
Okay, so change actual to on the ground.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can talk further about whether that has to be stamped by a PLS or not, but it doesn't really have to, but we can have a discussion on that.
Okay, so now I have a few questions for you guys that will determine how I proceed with the next batch of changes to bring to you. So one question is, some towns are lowering their threshold where it requires a stormwater bylaw permit. Currently, we're at about an acre, 40,000 square feet. Some towns have decreased this to about half an acre. Some have gone to different numbers and then implemented a 2-tiered permitting process, sort of similar to an RDA versus an NOI with the wetlands permitting. The rationale that was provided in the document I've been following along with is that all the smaller projects that are adding impervious surface add up over time. And then it shifts the burden of handling those pollutants onto the town, who has to then fund and install any BMPs to address those pollution issues to stay in compliance for the MS4 permit. So that is the rationale towns are using to decrease the threshold requiring a permit so that they end up reviewing more projects. So this is a big question for you guys so that I know how to proceed and draft a lot of the remaining changes. We can open it up and discuss that one, or I can go through, I have 2 more. I had 3 questions total for you tonight. I can go through all 3 and then we can talk, or we can do one at a time.
Yeah, just to add to what Leah said, is there's some towns that actually have fairly small thresholds. I think the idea, if we reduce it, is to have some sort of like RDA approach to it. So, but I think that's a good discussion, and we should talk more about it.
I'd certainly like to talk more about it. If it's going to be now or later, this is a lot to kind of think about and mull over in my brain anyways.
Well, maybe let me say the last 2 and then we can have we can have an open discussion now, and no action has to be taken tonight. It's just a place to start. So you guys can think about these things and we can come back and revisit it the next meeting in January. That's not a problem. Let me just go through the last 2 and then we can talk about any questions and anything you guys have. This one is an item, if you remember, quite a while ago, we had a study done by Graves Engineering where they looked at our stormwater bylaw and the subdivision rules and regulations to try to identify any discrepancies between the two and flag ways to bring them more in harmony with each other. There weren't a lot of actions to take on the stormwater bylaw side. Most of the revisions needed to occur on the subdivision rules and regulations side. However, one of the things that was suggested was the addition of a 25-year storm event to the impoundment design storms for applicants to analyze. We currently have a 2, a 10, and a 100 through our reference to the DEP stormwater management standards. So it was a suggestion from that study from Graves Engineering that we consider adding a 25-year storm event to those standards. The last one is that we have for some time now had a policy about trying to have only about 5 acres open or active on a site per phase. And I was just wondering if the commission would like to add that to the performance standards section of the bylaw so that it's a little stronger than just a policy of the commission. So those are the questions I have for you guys.
So Leah, I think that last one is a really good idea. I think it needs to be worded in such a way that it's not an absolute number because it has to be justified through kind of science and engineering, that if you have a dead flat site, it's probably not as big an issue, but if you have a slope. But I think I like the idea of actually putting it in there so it does have a little bit more teeth. So I definitely agree with that one.
Okay, and so would you like me to try to find a way to word it that requires something like what you were getting at of, you know, your site characteristics or something like that? Or should we add it in and it can always be something they ask for a waiver from?
I think you add it in and have them ask for a waiver.
Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that last item of it?
That makes sense to me.
Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, could you go back to the first one, the first question? It was like disturbance of more than, or degrading it to half an acre or something.
Absolutely.
So does that just mean, in a nutshell, that we would be seeing more permits, more people coming in front of Conscom, basically?
Yeah, we would have more projects that would be filing with us. We would, if we were gonna lower the threshold, I mean, I guess it depends by what magnitude it's lowered by, but if it's substantially lower, like going from an acre to a half an acre, then I would definitely suggest it being a shorter, more streamlined process, just like an RDA versus an NOI, because I think it would end up being a lot to ask of smaller projects to meet the requirements that bigger ones have to meet right now when they file. So if we do it, I think it would be a different process, but yes, it would increase the amount of applications, the amount of public hearings coming before Concom.
Do you have any sense of how much it would increase that?
It entirely depends on how much we decrease the threshold.
If we decrease to a half acre, just curious, I guess.
I mean, I guess you have to weigh at what point you're triggering like a single family house lot is sort of a tipping point.
I was going to say, if the building, I'm not sure if the current zoning and building and everything for codes limits. So like in my neighborhood, it's all 1/3 of an acre lots, but I don't think you can build 1/3 of an acre lots anymore, typically, unless you go before the appeals board. You have to go through a larger process as opposed to if a developer was building it, you know, a group of houses, whatever, it would typically be half-acre lots, is my understanding. I mean, that's a lot of the communities in the area, because they have a minimum size lot. So if we lowered it to half an acre, that might be hitting the majority of new construction homes, right? Or would it just be ones that triggers other items?
So I'd have to look up those specific, like, stats, so to speak, from building and zoning to get you more exact answers on that. But
Yeah.
I understand what you're getting at.
Essentially, it sounds like it might be every single family home that's built in Grafton will now have to go in front of the CONSCOM if this were the case. But again, if we had a streamlined process, then maybe it's not a big deal for a specific half an acre to an acre or whatever the two-tiered permitting.
Yeah,
And maybe
I mean,
point.
There's also, you know, the aspect of, is it, you know, are they clearing the whole lot in order to build? I know it seems to be the general practice, but there are some who don't. So even though your lot size might meet that number, maybe you're not clearing the whole thing, and so then you don't meet that number.
Right.
And the other thing is you could put in is if that lot is part of an overall subdivision where they're doing drainage design, then you could exclude it, because it doesn't make sense to double dip on kind of the
Right.
issues that you're talking about if it's coming in as part of a subdivision. So but I think it's interesting. I know there's a coverage. I mean, I have a non-conforming lot, but I know the coverage in my area is, I think I can only go up to 25% coverage on a lot. So that means if you have a 40,000 square foot lot, you can only cover like 10,000. I forget the number of, there's actually a number in the zoning bylaw and how much impervious cover you can have. So that would be interesting to look up to understand, just to your question, John, if you have a 40,000 square foot lot and there's a percentage of coverage that you can have by the zoning bylaw, that will tell us what that threshold is and whether or not you know, it would come in front of us. And there's a difference between alteration and imperviousness. So, so it's just trying to look at all the different regulations to see what impacts that would have.
Is there a way, do we have the information to see roughly like how many projects were done in the last 3 years, like these type of single family projects that wouldn't have come up in front of us before, that like would the
But would have if we changed things? Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
exactly. Because I mean, is it going to add 20 more public hearings in the spring? I mean, that's just putting a lot on us too.
I can try to talk with building and see if I can get a rough idea of
And I think
what
the
that
other
would
question,
entail.
yeah, and I think the other question we need to ask is that if they come in front of us, what kind of improvement are we going to require them to do? And I'm not talking anything about cost or anything. What is the benefit of them coming in front of us?
Right.
What would we require, and how much improvement? I mean, I totally get the whole, you know, you have issues because you have all this incremental increase of imperviousness. So if they come in front of us, what are we going to do to combat that? So it's just trying to think it in a holistic approach. Because it makes a big difference. Yeah.
Okay. And those are 2 more sections in the document I've been following along with. They have 2 sections where they talk about what would the process look like for smaller projects, what conditions would we put on them, what like plan requirements would them filing have to entail, things like that. So I can certainly get some of those ready for discussion next time.
Is what you presented available to come back at another time other than during a meeting, but could like we access this to think about it and read it and so on? Or is this only available in a meeting context?
No, we can keep it in Dropbox. We typically, like, you know, a meeting's over, we move on to the next meeting folder in Dropbox just to keep it simple for you guys, but we can leave this one hanging around so you can click on it anytime you want.
Okay, just to rehash it out, because it just, I don't know if I understand it all without, you know, breaking it apart completely elementary wise.
Yeah, so we can, you know, we can have as much information outside of the public hearing. We just cannot do any kind of discussion or deliberation outside of public hearing. So we can do our own research and look at things as long as we're not talking to each other. That's all.
Yeah, I just need to understand it, what I'm reading. I mean, you know, you're reading it, and whether or not you're understanding what you're reading, for me, sometimes it's two different things. So, but I just need to do some homework, not with them, not, you know, connecting with you guys outside of the meeting, but just so that I know what I'm looking at.
Sure. And does anyone have anything you want to discuss on the 25-year storm event?
So, so adding an extra storm event and putting in the 25-year, to me, that doesn't have substantial changes to what we would get as results. There would be a few projects that it would impact. I think that one of the questions I have, and I should know the answer, but I don't, is for closed drainage systems, what is our requirement in town for the year storm? Are we supposed to size closed drainage pipes and so forth for the 25-year? So it's two different things. When you're talking hydrology and the other, you're talking hydraulics. So the way I read that is for hydrology, you would add the 25-year storm. Not a bad thing to do. I just don't know what benefit we get from it. Every once in a while you run into an issue where the 25-year storm won't work. But if you've got the 2, the 10 and 100-year working, which is what's in you know, DEP and the stormwater standards, and that's basically looking for the smaller storms, and then the floods, the you know, the 100-year, which is the flood kind of storm. So there's kind of some reasons, and just by adding the 25-foot, the 25-year gives you a little bit better information, but it won't change the design very much. So
Okay.
not quite sure what benefit that is. It's not bad. It's just a lot of towns require it. I just don't know what the benefit is.
And then how about the DPW piece? Give me a second. I can try to find what our language says right now. Just give me a second
Yeah.
to do that.
That's a big one. That has a big impact, because the impact isn't only what comes in front of us. The impact is the amount of money that the town will have to spend if they're kind of doing roadway improvements. So that one has a lot of ramifications, and not to say that we shouldn't be pushing the town to do stormwater improvements for their roadways, as they are the largest owner of impervious area in the town. There's always never a question. Majority of imperviousness is owned by the town, and it's the roadways. So they have a responsibility, but really would like to get a little bit more familiar with what's coming up with the MS4. We just don't want to, put an undue burden where the town won't be able to do certain things. That's all.
So this is our bylaw currently, the exemptions section. We have an exemption for routine maintenance and upgrade of existing municipal drainage systems or stormwater systems that will not significantly alter existing terrain or drainage systems. We also have an exemption for routine maintenance and upgrading of existing public ways, including reclamation and paving and other routine maintenance activities that apply to roadway maintenance that will not significantly alter the existing terrain or drainage system. So right now we exempt pretty much what the document is recommending we not exempt, include. Recommending we include instead. Again, you don't have to decide right now. Just didn't know if anyone had any discussion points.
I just think if we're looking to do a change like this, we should really reach out to DPW and ask and see what their response would be, and just to get a perspective from their point of view. I also am inclined to try to push them a little bit, but I think we need to do it transparently, be very transparent in what we're going to be asking and so forth.
Okay.
Because this could have a really big impact. That's all.
I did talk to the DPW director about lowering the threshold for a permit because of the rationale that otherwise it puts the burden on the town to fix pollutant issues later.
Yep.
He was in favor of lowering the threshold so that more gets reviewed by the commission.
Yep.
I did not talk to him about the exemptions part, but I will do that before the next meeting.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance because the town's now responsible for basically the water quality of what's coming off of everything. So on one hand, they want to have a little bit more stringent requirements because otherwise they're responsible for it. But on the other hand, it has to be a balanced approach. So I may be surprised and they would be all for it. But again, I think it's just a conversation that we should have with them to be just to be transparent and to, make sure that we're not missing something and if they have a different perspective, that's all.
Okay. I think I have enough direction to continue and then bring this back to you guys next time. Does anyone have any other questions or pieces you want to talk about now? Otherwise, I think we should bring it to the 19th.
Okay, my only other thing is take a look online of what the changes are for the stormwater standards, because they're doing a very similar effort of trying to, get in line with the MS4s. So, there are certain things, and if we're making changes, there are some other things I think we should add. And those are the things like the stormwater, the actual rainfall data to align with the new DEP stuff. And so I think there's, I think, yeah, this is something that the town has to do, but I think it's a really good idea. And I think it's just a way to kind of figure out how to align with everything. So at the end of the day, on July 1st, everything lines up and we're not creating any issues. So.
Absolutely. Like I said, there's a lot more to consider. It's just, I wanted to bring you guys some of the low-hanging fruit to start. So.
Yep.
To be continued.
Yep. No, this is good.
I like this format for you presenting it too. It's easy to kind of go through everything.
PowerPoint, you mean?
Yeah. Well, just you
Okay.
going through the changes on PowerPoint, what it was, what it is, why you're doing it,
Okay.
and then moving on to the next one. It's easy to understand and I think cuts out a lot of the round and round and round that we dealt with last time we made changes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. I will keep going in that direction.
Because last time there was a lot of round and round and round and round.
Yeah. And red ink.
Yes. Does anyone have anything else? Or a motion?
Do you want me to request my own continuance?
Would you like us to vote on it?
So that's, I think that's a great question. Is this, it's a public hearing,
Yeah.
but it's not under the Wetlands Protection Act. It's under the bylaw. Do you have to actually request a continuance? I don't know the answer to this.
I think we just should to make sure we're covered. I mean, we had to do a whole ad in the paper just to open this and everything, so.
I'm okay with that. It's just, I don't know the
Yeah.
answer, that's all.
Yeah, I know it. But I think I can have some stuff ready for the 19th if you want to just bring it to the next one. I think I can meet that.
I think that it's good to keep because even though you're being proactive and you're ahead of the curve, it will catch up very quickly. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
So Leah, are you requesting a continuance to the next meeting?
Correct.
I second it.
I'll motion to continue.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second, not in that order.
Sorry.
We'll take a vote. Sandy?
Yes.
Okay, John,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
I vote yes. So we'll continue to the next meeting. So you guys have moved around so many times the order at the top of my screen. Okay, so that was the last thing on the agenda, correct?
Yep, that's all I have.
See, this was a very efficient meeting, Sandy. I didn't rush it.
No, this was good. This was good. No issues here.
I just like to keep it moving and everyone on point.
Yeah, I have no problem with that at all.
Okay, so we need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So Patrick makes a motion, John seconds. Helen,
Yes, please.
Sandy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Excellent job.